What's up, comic book community? My name is Joe, and this is 360 Comics. Over the weekend, I picked up a comic book collection at a yard sale, and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I might have gotten duped. Stay tuned to find out what happened. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment on it for your chance to win this 1988 reprint of Action Comics #1 and a surprise additional book. Please check out our other videos from last week and this week, like them and leave comments on them for additional entries, and make sure you ring that bell for notifications so you know when new videos are dropping. Good luck. So basically how this all went down is I got to a yard sale in the morning before it was even open and was waiting there to see if they really did have the comic books they claimed they had in their post online that had pictures. So I thought, yeah, sure, they've got to be there. And my buddy Mike rolled up a little bit after me, Pope of Chillytown. Go follow him on Instagram. And we decided we were going to try to pick up all the comic books and split the collection. There was a bunch of Bronze Age stuff in the pictures, and there were also some What If comics from the second volume, including some of the more sought-after ones like What If Venom Had Possessed the Punisher, which is, like a $20, $25 book. So we figured, if we can get these for like a bulk rate, we're going to do pretty well. So we waited around. Finally, the yard sale opened up. We were allowed to go look. And the first box that I was going through had a bunch of Byrne Wrights and Swamp Thing. We had issue number 6, not a key, but it's still one of the 10 Byrne Wrights and covers on Swamp Thing. He worked on it from issue 1 to 10. And that is something that I collect for myself personally, and I don't have this issue yet. To go along with that, there was issue number 8 as well, another Byrne Wrightson one, and a bunch of other books from after Byrne Wrightson had left the run. Most of the books in the run, in fact, because this run only goes up to 24 issues. So most of them were in there, and for some reason, there was even annual number... That's not the right book. What's going on? Wrong order. There was also annual number 2 from the second volume of Swamp Thing, which is a key. It's one of the early appearances. I'm not sure if it's like first cameo, first unofficial appearance of Justice League Dark. And that's something that I'm kind of speculating on. There was supposed to be a show, but it got canceled, or a movie or something. So maybe that is something that they will eventually bring back, especially because Marvel's doing pretty well with the horror, supernatural, occult kind of things. Maybe DC will follow suit with that. So I saw that stuff, and I also saw a John Byrne Wolverine number 17. And I was like, okay, you know what? There's good stuff in here. I'm going to try to make a deal. So I went up to the person running the event, and there were 2 long boxes and 1 short box. And I said, hey, would you take $100 for everything? Just throwing a number out there, see what she thought. And she replied back with, I'd do 200. And I said, I'd like to meet in the middle. Let's see if we can do 150. Is that cool? And she agreed. So we ended up taking 2 long boxes and a short box for $150. And thinking, based on what I saw, there had to be far more value than that. Well, we got home, and we started going through it, and I'll show you what everything was, and then we'll talk a little bit about what wasn't in there. So there was this Amazing Spider-Man book that I almost showed before. This book is a 90s newsstand ASM. I try to pick those up when I find them because, again, they're a little bit more rare. But there's something special about this. I'm not going to tell you what it is now because it's going to be involved in a future video. So stay tuned for that one. This was pretty interesting. I had never seen this before. Superman, the Mysterious Mr. Mist. This is a Cd-Rom comic book, and I had a bunch of these as a kid, but all of mine were Marvel because I was much more of a Marvel guy growing up, with the exception of Batman, and still am to this day. But this is a Superman Cd-Rom comic book. This was like the first digital comic before there was Comixology and all that stuff, and far before NFTs. First digital comic book on, a CD-ROM you could put in your computer and check it out on the computer. And sometimes there were cool animations. So I thought that was really cool. Wanted to include it in the video. Another thing that's not exactly a comic, we have a graphic novel here, Wolverine and Nick Fury, the Scorpio connection. Not super sought after or anything like that, but this one looks like it was never read, like super high grade. You can see that black cover is, it's not spine ticking at all. Doesn't have any color rubs, so that I thought was pretty cool. Definitely wanted to show that off. And then there were some keys. This one is a Bronze Age war book called Blitzkrieg from DC Comics, and this is issue number 1. Got some Nazis on the cover. Then we've got some Miller Daredevil. A bunch of books were in there. This is issue number 179, a classic cover featuring Elektra. And we know we're going to be seeing Daredevil a lot more coming up. We'll probably see some version of Elektra as well. Book that I've mentioned a bunch in the last couple months, X-Men number 182, and that's the first appearance in cameo of Bishop, and that is the second printing that has that gold border, or not gold background. Definitely a lot harder to find and more expensive than the first printing. Then we've got another X-Men book here. This is issue number 53, the first appearance of Onslaught. This is a book that spiked up really high, has come down a little bit. It still holds value, especially considering most of the books in this 90s X-Men run are, dollar bin stuff. This one holds some really nice value. Then a book we saw in the beginning, this is Daredevil number 181, The Death of Elektra. This is one of the most monumental books, definitely a climax of the Miller run, and deaths usually aren't very valued in comic books because the characters often come back, and in fact she did 8 issues later or something like that, but nonetheless this book still holds some really, really nice value because it is part of one of the best runs in comic book history, Miller's original run on Daredevil. The second to last book, I'm going to put a picture up here, bing, is Wolverine number 88, and the reason I don't have it is because this has been such a hot book. I wanted to get rid of it right away. So what I did was I looked on eBay and I looked at kind of what the lowest price of a mid-grade copy had sold for, because this was a mid-grade. Now, it was a mid-grade newsstand, but I just looked at mid-grade copies and I saw the lowest one was like $46. I ended up selling it for $40 at $40 at a claim sale. So, that was great that I was able to turn that around so quickly, and someone got a little bit of a discount on a book that is very, very hot right now. Moving on to the last book, we've got The Uncanny X-Men number 221, the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. This is a newsstand. I was hoping it would be a Mark Jewelers because there are Mark Jewelers versions of this, but we opened it up. No Mark Jeweler. It's mid-grade. It's not super high grade, not worth sending off to CGC, but still a very, very solid key, and one that people have been speculating on and thinking that it might be good to pick up now, even before the X-Men are introduced, because he might be one of the prominent villains early on, as he has never really been translated to the big screen. And I totally agree with that. And growing up in the 90s, I was a big fan of Mr. Sinister, given that, he has a lot of appearances in both the comics in the late 80s and 90s, and also, he had his appearance on the X-Men animated series. Now, that being said, we paid $150, got all this stuff. There's a stack of books that I'm going to put in my $5 bins. Some lesser keys from the Miller Daredevil run. Just overall decent stuff. But I was kind of questioning because the pictures did not match up with the comic books. In fact, when we went through all this, I said, wait, where are the What If books? And Mike and I kind of looked around and double checked, and yeah, they weren't in there. There were some Phantom Stranger books and some Batman books that were advertised as well, and that stuff was not in there. Now, when I made the offer and made the deal, I expected those books to be in there because they were advertised. So that being said, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back. Maybe we missed a box. Maybe the box was left in the house when they took the pictures. I didn't know, and it was only 10 or 15 minutes, so I said, I'm just going to go check. So I went back, and that's when things got a little weird. So I asked the person running the yard sale, and before, she didn't even look around. She just was like, nope, there's no more comics. And I was like, well, you had advertised these. Were they pictures that you took? And she's like, yeah, I took those pictures. Those books should have been in there. And I said, well, could you maybe go check in the house? And she's like, no, I can't. I have to watch all this stuff out here. And I understand that you're running a yard sale, but at the same time, no one's gonna. There was like me and like a young couple in their 30s and an older woman. Like, no one's gonna steal the $5 teacup set or anything like that. That's just not gonna happen. So I was kind of a little bit put off by the situation. I felt like either she had not been completely honest with the listing and the books that she had put up, or maybe what I think is probably more likely, we missed a box. We didn't grab that box when we ended up taking all the comics, and what might have happened is after we left, someone else came along and bought that box, and she was trying to kind of cover it up. I can't say for sure. This is just totally speculation. Especially because when we were kind of haggling on the price, she did mention the What If books, and she's like, I looked up the price of some of those, and some of them are worth some money. So she specifically said the What If books without me prompting that. So I think that those books were in there at some time, whether they were still in her house or she had sold them to someone else. I don't know. But kind of a weird situation. We certainly did not lose money on the situation, though. The with what we got, we will be fine. Making our money back and then some. There were 2 long boxes of dollar bin books, so that stuff, just some good inventory for future shows and sales. And then there were a bunch of $3 and $5 books that aren't in this video, and of course the bigger keys, one of which already sold for $40. So really we're all in for 110 after that sale. And this book alone, 50, maybe $60, something like that, in the condition that it's in. We'll kind of see. I think things are going to shake out okay, but I really do wish those books had been in there. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling about this yard sale conspiracy. I should have worn my tin hat for this one. Forgot about that. That was another yard sale video a while ago where I had a little conspiracy moment. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, all that stuff, and definitely check us out on Instagram, because almost every single Friday, at least once a week, we're doing a claim sale. This Friday, it's going to be starting somewhere between 7 and 8 o'clock, and I believe I will be joined by James from Mint Hunter Comics as long as his schedule allows it. So we'll see you there, and until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.